Hey, what's going on? I'm Brandon Bain.
Hey guys, I'm Dan Foulds, and this is Rubbin' and Grubbin', where we talk about racing, NASCAR, and good food. So let's just jump right into it. This is my first time back after a while, and I was practicing the stay-at-home thing and the social isolation. As you can see, we're still staying apart.
Yeah, welcome back, Dan. By the way,
got my mask, and I'm being careful, and I hope you guys are all being careful too, and hopefully we're going to get through this real quick. So there's a question here, what have I been up to? Well, Hugh Hefner made millions sitting at home in his pajamas. That hasn't happened to me yet. I have spent a lot of time in my pajamas. I've been staying over in South Carolina in a gated golf course community. I got a rich brother-in-law, he owns a house there, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that. Enough about that soapbox. Brandon, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be back up here. Another beautiful Wednesday. Glad to have you back. Ready to get into it, man.
Buddy, I tell you, I missed you and I missed this. So, let's talk racing. So, iRacing is still the only show in town unless you like to bet on horse racing. By the way, you can bet on iRacing. I didn't know if you knew that or not. So, these events are proliferating across the virtual globe. There's IndyCar events, there's European events. You can see most of these events either live when they come on. You just got to be savvy. You got to, use Google, check out YouTube, and certainly you can see them after the fact, because just about anything that anybody does with a camera today will be on YouTube tomorrow, including this show right here. So YouTube is your venue of choice to find any old race. As a matter of fact, I watched a truck race the other night, which I love the trucks, by the way. I mean, I love the trucks, the NASCAR trucks. I watched a truck race from 2019, and I had absolutely no idea who was going to win this race. I got myself a 12-pack of beer, sat down in my living room, and man, it was party of one right there. And I was yelling and hooting and hollering, and the finish was spectacular. If you haven't seen that truck race, it's on YouTube, and you've got something to look forward to tonight. Get after it. So, Brandon, what do you think about watching these old races?
I enjoy it. I mean, I really don't miss a race when it's on normally.
Right.
So watching them replay, you kind of forget some, re-jog your memory a little bit.
Yeah.
Relive some moments.
Do you watch the truck races on a normal weekend?
Usually on a normal weekend, if I don't watch the whole thing, I'm watching a piece. I catch all three series at least a piece. Kind of helps you down the road, seeing who's got what, who's got some skills, who's coming up.
Okay.
Definitely helps. That's where the prospecting aspect of it is, the draft picks, if you want to say. That's where they're at. So those are where you watch a few years in advance to find out who's coming up, who's got some talent. Gotcha.
So, again, one more plug for the folks that are standing on the front lines. And by the way, I showed you my mask here. I do wear a mask when I go into a grocery store, because what I do not want to have happen is that the folks who are working at Publix get scared and decide that they're not going to go open the store. So I wear a mask not so much to protect me as to make them think that I want to protect them. So we got to be very, very careful with these people that are on the front lines in this crisis that are trying to provide us services. And that's why I do wear a mask when I go to Publix or Kroger or Walmart, whatever. The food service workers, the cashiers, the stock boys, of course, the medical professionals who are at ground zero in the ICUs where the positive people are. We want to say thank you to all of them. Okay, we got a touchy subject. Something very uncomfortable and sensitive happened this week, and it was when Kyle Larson, a promising young driver, made a huge mistake, and he lost his job, he lost his sponsors, and he is pretty much in deep stuff right now. And the only thing I'm going to say about that is I think Kyle Larson made a stupid mistake, and I think he probably honestly regrets it. I honestly don't think he's a bad guy. I honestly don't think he's a racist. I don't think he has a racist bone in his body. I think he's stupid. He did something incredibly stupid. He's got I Googled his net worth, and it came up, said he's got about 12 million bucks. So I don't suspect he's going to be eating bologna sandwiches as he works his way through this. He did make a mistake, but You know, it is my nature when someone makes a mistake to look in my heart and to find forgiveness. And I hope that each of you, as you're watching this and you think about him and what he did, I hope that we can all try to find forgiveness, especially now when we have to work together, perhaps more than at any time in the memory of anyone alive today. We need to work together. So hopefully people can come to find it in their hearts to let that go and let that kid have a break. What do you think?
Obviously horrible. You know, he's a huge talent, great race car driver, family man. The unfortunate thing is no matter what he does, obviously he's suspended indefinitely. He's going to have to do, you know, some program, community service type work, obviously, you know, educate himself a little more. But with that being said, I mean, everybody's sorry when you're sorry. Yeah. So, you know, it's teaching people how to prevent it from ever happening or being in your thought process that's going to move everybody on past it. Unfortunately, no matter what happens, if he does come back, which I probably think he will come back, he's a very big talent. Sponsor is going to be hard to find, for one. And number two is it's going to be no matter what he does from here on out, that's going to be his label. Maybe not through the garage area, maybe not everybody, but that's how people are going to look at him. And that's going to be something very, very hard to shake if he ever shakes it. So big mistake, especially that costs you X amount of $1 million a year or hundreds of $1,000s a year racing cars. Now here you are, you know, suspended indefinitely, lost your ride, lost 2 sponsors for sure that are never going to touch you again, as well as probably who knows how many back endorsements that he had signed, how many, you know, different things that he's catching. Obviously the backlash for him has been pretty big. Learn from your mistakes, and it's not a mistake. That's what I was always taught. But going to be very hard to shake the label. So,
boy, that was a dumb thing. That was a dumb thing he did, and I feel bad for him because, believe it or not, I have actually made a mistake in my life, and I know how it feels to screw up, and I look forward to the day when he's past that. So when one door closes, another door opens. So with the 42 car open, who's going to drive it next?
Ooh, good question. Obviously Chevrolet, you're going to hear, I'm sure Ross Chastain's name's been thrown around. The one thing I consider is he's a Ford driver. You know, obviously he'll race whatever. I mean, he's got a good enough talent to race the car. It would just shock me if Chevrolet opened their doors for somebody else, another manufacturer driver, to come in and kind of get some secrets or learn a few things that Ford might not do, and it might be helpful to them. They might get some secrets that Ford does or Toyota or whoever. But at the end of the day, I know McMurray's been thrown around there. Don't know if he'll come out of retirement full time to run that car for the rest of the season, but it'll be interesting to see. Or is he going to move up a young guy? Is he going to go grab somebody else? It'd just be interesting to see what happens. I don't think there's anything definite locked in, but you can believe here in the next couple of weeks they'll have something in line. So.
And you don't think it'll be backflip?
No, I do not think it'll be Carl Edwards. He's had opportunities, I think, to come into, I'm not going to say better equipment, bigger rides, possibly better equipment than Ganassi in the past couple of years, and probably turned that down. He left one of the best pieces of equipment. So unless he's going to, it would take, you're going to have to be in the best equipment, the best thing, the scenario would be right, I think, if you ever get him back. But no, I don't think so. I mean, maybe, you know, Paul Menard that retired this year, or maybe, you know, filling in a couple, you know, 4 or 5 races for this guy, 4 or 5 for this guy. I mean, who knows? But we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully we get it back on and get it going, man.
So here's we had a discussion before the show tonight, and occasionally, as smart as Brandon is, and he understands the calculus of NASCAR a lot better than I do, and the different layers. The question was presented, when this is all said and done with this virus, will iRacing be a component of NASCAR, of the week-long events, you know, the spectacle that is NASCAR? And Brandon's opinion is?
No, it will not. It, like I said, when the sport's rolling, as it normally rolls, you go there for 3 reasons. That's the trucks, the Xfinity, or the Cup Series. You want to see the live action cars. You want to be able to see your drivers. You want the whole atmosphere.
Right.
It's much like a college football game. You go to a certain college town. You pull into Athens. You pull into Auburn. You pull into, you know, Gainesville. You pull down there. There's an atmosphere. Each college represents that atmosphere. It's the same thing as tracks, man. Each track has its own, you know, atmosphere. You want to feel, you know, feel the vibrations, smell the smells.
Sure.
With that being said, do I think it'll, be on TV, possibly on some blocks that they have? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely think it deserves to be. It's definitely had a lot of views. 1.4, 1.2, over a million people every time are watching it. New people that normally don't watch NASCAR.
Right.
So definitely really good for the sport. The only thing I will say on that is NASCAR also purchased ARCA beginning last year or this year or whatever. They purchased that series. So my big thing is, if you're going to open up and promote this new series of virtual simulation racing, let's use this ARCA racing too. I mean, I'd love to see a 4-race, a 4-series race at Atlanta.
Right.
We go there every year, Friday night ARCA race, Saturday doubleheader, and then turn around Sunday and have the Cup. I'd love it. But as far as it becoming integrated into what they do every weekend at every racetrack, I don't see it.
As much as I like him, this is where Brandon and I disagree, because this is what I think is going to come out of this. I think the guys running NASCAR who know the value of a dollar, I think they're going to view this iRacing phenomenon, and that's all you can say about iRacing right now, is it is a total phenomenon, which we talked about right here before this ever went down, when you taught me about William Byron, right? Yeah. William Byron came up through iRacing first before he got into the Legends. This is what I think. I think NASCAR is going to say, hey, there's a whole bunch of kids in this country, and they like to play video games. And this is something we can do to hook kids when they're about 5 years old and get them to watch an iRacing, and then we can just have them right on up through adulthood. So I think that what they'll do is, it'll probably stay with the NASCAR iRacing events, which are going on right now. I think they're on Monday or Tuesday nights that they do that.
Right.
A total separate thing, not including NASCAR drivers at all. Kids that just do simulation. I think that NASCAR will embrace that. It'll be on Fox TV, and I think it'll be on the night before the first race happens at the actual racetrack. So we got a beer bet between us, and we'll see how that plays out.
Interesting. I just don't.
We'll see how that plays out.
Man.
I do miss the smell of burnt fuel and burnt rubber.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like, I said, the atmosphere, being there in person and actually seeing it go down compared to, the virtual simulation we're watching now. It's night and day. I mean, like I said, I critiqued it a little bit last week. There's a few things I think they could do different. The restarts for the leader type thing, I really don't like that. Leader obviously has a clear advantage in the simulation racing. And you're right, it is a great door to open up for your fans, for these kids to get involved. But the one thing I do want to say is the William Byrons of iRacing are going to be very, very few and far between. You're not going to have this kid that grows up doing this, then all of a sudden gets in a car and wham, bam, here he is. He can do it. Right. You're not going to have that. There's guys that have drove cars their whole life, not simulation. They drove cars their whole life and then get into one. Joey Logano, prime example. Yeah. Win at everything you do. Get in a big boy car, can't figure it out for 5-6 years. Right. William Byron, here he is, second, third year in. Come on, man, he's doing decent. He's running good. Yeah. Putting himself there. You're not going to see that. But I think it's more involved of, obviously, it gives kids an out, like you said. Obviously, it's going to be way cheaper than you going to your mom and dad and saying, hey, I want to be a race car driver, and you've never raced a thing in your life, and you're 5 years old, and they get you a go-kart, and then it goes here and there. Second mortgage on a house, selling everything to promote racing. It's obviously going to be
the path that a lot of people take today.
Right, which is obviously going to be
young.
A lot more inexpensive way of getting your name out there a little bit. So I agree with you on the fact I think they'll use it for their promotional stuff. Right. They'll use it to open the window for new fans, hopefully. Yes. I just don't see it integrated into the weekend schedule.
Time will tell. Say, speaking of iRacing, there is another race this Sunday. Yep. Get yourself a case of beer. You're going to need it. It comes on this Sunday. It'll be on Fox. I know it'll be on FS1, and it'll probably be on Fox too. Yeah. And then again, after that race is done, if you can't catch it Sunday, you can find all these events on YouTube. They're back there. 5 drivers to watch at Richmond. Timmy Hill.
Yeah, definitely iRacing guys. Timmy's going to be one of them. I'm going to have to say, obviously, William Byron. You know that. John Hunter Nemechek's going to have to be another one. Right. You got Garrett Smithley out there. We're going to see 2 guys I think that are going to run really well at this racetrack, that ran really good at this racetrack in their actual racing careers. Denny Hamlin, Dale Jr., 2 of the guys that are definitely going to stand out this weekend. Kyle Busch, I said it last week, do not be surprised if you see him come in there and compete top 5 this week too.
Right.
Like I said last week, he's a competitor. Whether it's iRacing or whether it's real racing, he wants to win. So it's only a matter of time before he gets it down. But then those are 5 for sure. Keep an eye on.
Okie dokie. So one thing that I've recently become aware of, we do on Wednesday nights in the normal world, we have a NASCAR gambling thing here. And so there's the driver, you want to be able to pick the driver that you think is going to win. And there's these names, these new guys. And earlier this year, I heard this name, Ryan Preece, and I was like, that's who I usually get stuck with because I can't draw a ping pong ball to save my life. Well, what I didn't realize is that the newest kid in the Cup Series, who you think is a new guy, who you think doesn't know anything about racing, that guy has already done a bunch of racing somewhere else, and he's really good, and he's proven that he can win. And in the case of Ryan, Ryan was the champion in the modified division a couple of years ago.
Yep.
He won the championship. Not just he won a race, he won enough races to win the championship.
Yep.
So this kid obviously knows what it is to win and how to be great. And like you said about William Byron or Joey Logano, it took him a while to figure out because it's a different division, right?
Yeah,
it's a whole different ball game.
It's a different beast, man. And obviously Ryan Preece has talent. He's won races. He's in, I'm going to say, mediocre equipment, pretty good equipment, not great, not bad.
Right.
But the difference was Logano came in and replaced Tony Stewart.
Right.
I mean, so
he had
not only it's the same thing as William Byron. I mean, you got to understand probably the pressure that this guy had. Here I am, I'm Joey Logano, I'm this young kid. I'm stepping into the 20 car, to take over for Tony Stewart. So I'm trying to fill these shoes, get out of that shadow.
Right.
But it took him a while, and now here he is. He's one of the best. He's a champion. He's a NASCAR champion. He's won 2 races out of the 4 that we got to run this year. I mean, he's off to a hot start. He's a great driver.
Right.
Ryan thing is there again. Are you going to be able to show your actual full capability, your talent in the 37?
Right.
Compared to if you were in the 19, the 18, this high echelon, Hendrick, Joe Gibbs car, man. I mean, I personally don't think he'd do it, but damn, what the hell do I know, man?
So Timmy Hill made a comment he was racing. He said my car has. Didn't he? I think he said my car has 200 less horsepower than the other car.
Yeah, they run.
You remember that comment?
Obviously, the older, small, career money team. Let's say, small, single car, family owned guy out there just trying to make $1.
Yeah.
They're running at sometimes 2-year older model cars than what these guys are. Not saying, it might be the beginning year of 18 and here we are in 20.
Right.
The beginning year of 18 model, not this. So,
right.
Way underfunded. Obviously, it's takes money to run competitively in this sport. That's just what it is. But it's different. You know what I mean? It's 2 totally different mind states. If you start this race and you finish this race, for those small teams, they made money.
Yeah.
If these big teams start this race and they finish dead last, yeah, they made money. But if they do that all year long, you're not making any money. So it's 2 different beasts. What do you do? But yeah, definitely. I mean, if it's just about getting in what ride at what time to showcase the most talent that you possibly have. And it's there's probably some guys that were the Jeff Gordons before Jeff Gordon or the Jeff Gordon after Jeff Gordon, or a guy that had a whole lot of talent and could have done a lot of things that never got the opportunity in a upper echelon piece of equipment. So it goes a long way, and that's why the Kyle Larson thing is a huge deal. You're in some pretty good equipment, man, and that's hard to come by.
So I mentioned that Ryan came out of the modifieds, and as I'm kind of new to racing and learning about it, so I've been interested in Kenny Schrader. He was the guy that wrecked with Senior.
Yeah,
right?
One of my dad's. That's pretty much one of my dad's favorite drivers.
Well, he's
right
one of
there,
my
man,
favorite
so.
drivers now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, Kenny Schrader reminds me, for the world, like an old warrant officer in the Army. He's a guy who's been around the block and he's done it and he just grinds it out. He performs year after year. He's still racing a lot of races each year in the modifieds. He does a lot of PR, public relations events. He makes money for his sponsor. I think the world of him. I think he's just a great guy. if I was a race car driver, I would like to be kind of like Kenny Schrader. If he was a medevac pilot, he'd probably like to be like me. So speaking of modifieds, let's talk a little bit about the history of NASCAR. And you know, this whole purpose for this series of programs was for me to learn about NASCAR. So here's what I've learned. So NASCAR was founded at a meeting at the Streamline Hotel in Daytona Beach in 1948 as the North American Stock Car Auto Racing Association. So this guy, Bill France, had been running races on the beach at Daytona, 15 miles from where I grew up. And he finally talked multiple groups into consolidating after a successful beach and road race in 1948 on a 4.2 mile course. That's a long track.
That's a long track.
So the first cars, and these cars, by the way, raced from the beginning all the way into the 70s, were modified mid-1930s Ford coupes. And you didn't hear me wrong, I said 1930s Ford coupes. If you look at a legend car today that kids learn how to race in, a legend car is a shrunk down model of a mid-1930s Ford coupe. That's where the shape of that car came from. So these Ford coupes, they had Cadillac or Oldsmobile ambulance motors, because you know an ambulance is a big heavy vehicle and you need some juice to move that thing. So they would take this monster motor and they'd put it in this little tiny car and it would flat scream. It would get down the road. They would also beef up the rear suspensions in these cars, and the reason they beefed up the rear suspension was so that they could carry
moonshine.
Moonshine! Moonshine! Is that called corn liquor?
No.
Is that called white lightning?
No.
Skullcracker?
Negative.
Bush whiskey?
Negative.
Stump?
Negative.
Stump Hall Panther's breath?
Nope.
Hillbilly pop?
Nope.
Rot gut?
Nope.
Ruckus juice?
Nope.
Cat daddy?
Nope.
Mountain Dew?
Nope. You know
Corn squeezins?
Nope.
Mule kick?
No, sir.
Wooch?
No, sir.
Shine?
No, sir.
White dog?
No, sir.
Devil's tears?
Nope.
Mountain magic?
Nope. You know
Well,
what this
what are we
is?
going to call it then?
You know what this is, Dan?
What is that?
This is the history of NASCAR right here.
In that jar.
In
Let's
this
get after
jar.
it.
Woo! Yeah!
Tastes like history of NASCAR right there.
Oh, that's good.
That's it.
Moonshine. So this is where the story of NASCAR links right into the story of Savannah, Georgia. Savannah, Georgia, by the way, is situated right square in the middle of the Prohibition Coast.
Yes.
During Prohibition, which Georgia never really observed, or Savannah never really observed, the great state of Chatham. During Prohibition, there was a lot of people said, we're going to have liquor and we don't care. As a matter of fact, there is a famous lady boat captain with an office right over there on Turner's Creek named Captain Judy. And Captain Judy's daddy used to make these cars that ran this moonshine. So we are connected with the roots of NASCAR right here.
That's it.
Right here. So the first racers were modifieds, and the modified division turned into what I would call the skunk works. So you know I'm a pilot. You may remember there used to be an airplane called the SR-71. It was the Blackbird. It flew really fast, fastest airplane on the planet. Well, that plane was designed in what they call the skunk works, where they make sneaky stuff that goes really fast. And the modified division was the skunk works for NASCAR. So when you see a lot of the features on the Cup cars today were developed in the modified division. So in the beginning, they had these modified cars, these mid-30s cars, and then Mr. France, who started NASCAR, he added another division called Strictly Stock. And he actually misspelled it, or the video that I saw said he misspelled it. And a Strictly Stock car, way back in the day, it had to be the current year or last year's or 2 years ago. Couldn't be older than that. And there was a reason that he put the Strictly Stock at the top of the bill. This was the big race, the money race. It wasn't, and these cars were slower. They were slower than the modified cars. But Mr. France put these cars at the top of the bill, and there was a reason for that. The reason was that the modified cars were old, and when somebody won, that wasn't going to attract the attention of a manufacturer. But the new cars would get money from
People.
Ford,
Ford,
Chevrolet, Pontiac.
Mercury, whatever it was.
They used to have a saying in NASCAR, and it was about winning on Sunday, and the saying went,
selling on Monday.
Win on Sunday and sell it on Monday.
Yeah.
And Mr. France was very smart because the manufacturers did get interested in NASCAR.
Yeah.
And that strictly
Propelled
stock division turned into what they called the Grand National. And you know, you think a grandiose Grand National race, and eventually it turned into the Cup race.
Yep.
Win on Sunday, sell on Monday. And if you look at today's modified cars, one, like I said, Kenny Schrader's driving one of those. This car was a byproduct of NASCAR, and we're going to pay respect to a hero here. NASCAR Hall of Fame driver Richie Evans from Rome, New York. Richie died in a crash in 1985, but he was so broke that he got the paint from the city's utility truck division given to him by an inside guy. I think the modifieds race at Oglethorpe Speedway Park.
Yeah, they have a modified division. They've got some pretty cool little divisions out there, man. I know they got street stock, mini stock. They got modified 440, and then they have another one that's like a late model, a smaller late model. But yeah, man, they got it going on. That's where a lot of guys, that's where you got your starts back in the day. A lot of guys came from dirt racing.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys did, some came from asphalt, you know, some came from dirt.
There's people that want NASCAR to get back into a little bit of dirt racing.
I mean, Stewart's got the trucks at Eldora, which I think is great. Other than that, I don't think so. I mean, Xfinity and the Cup Series.
No, obviously they're not going to do
that. No. I mean, I've seen, like I said, ARCA. On dirt, they run DeCoin, as I've mentioned before. I have family from up there, so seen that before. That's an awesome race, awesome racetrack.
What's the difference between an ARCA car and a Cup car?
Just year model, tires, horsepower, way it's set up, chassis. I mean, it's completely night and day.
How fast do the ARCA cars run around the track?
Quick. I mean, not, you know, speed-wise, I mean, you're probably running, it depends on where, but maybe 20 miles an hour slower, 15 to 20, I would say.
Okay.
Lap speed, the average lap speed, you're probably talking a second and some change, maybe.
Okay.
You're talking a lot. It's just two totally different things, you know. Just two totally different things.
So NASCAR's considering running races without fans.
Yep.
What do you think about this?
I was not a fan of it when we first started talking about this, but now that I've been sports starved for some time now, anything's better than nothing. And obviously, this isn't going to be something we just step right back into normal life from. It's going to take months to get everything rolling back the way it was. It's going to, if not longer than that. So I say if they're able to do it, let's get some sports, baseball, basketball, football, everything, man. Let's, do whatever we have to do to get that moving.
Okay.
Without fans, it's going to be kind of weird. But what we're doing now is pretty weird, too. First time in my lifetime anything like this. So it's just something that we all have to deal with. It's something that we all have to, make it through the other side, man. And, hey, if we can get some sports rolling, let's do it.
Any venue where you're used to, a crowd of people being there and there's nobody there, it might be a little disconcerting. This actually doesn't bother me at all because normally there's, 5 or 10 people here. We'd love for you to come and watch us do a show once we get past this. Who are the worst drivers in the Pro Invitational Series?
Man. I'm going to say Bubba Wallace for sure. That's one of them. He's
in trouble.
Daniel Suarez is definitely going to be one of them. Horrible. Kyle Busch has gotten a little better. We'll see what he does. I don't really know, man. That's kind of a tough one on the other two. I mean, it's up in the air, man. It's a lot of guys make a lot of mistakes. I mean, that's something that
it's different.
Yeah, I mean, Eric
it's a
Jones,
skill set that is different.
Right. Christopher Bell and the couple he's run, obviously that like Gordon was explaining last week or the week before, he said when you're a race car driver, he said it's not only the sounds that you hear, the motor, the RPMs you're running, the tires. It's not the sounds you hear, but it's the feel of the actual race car. And he goes, in simulation, you don't get the feel.
You don't get that.
Right.
Those, by the way, are called proprioceptive cues. Proprioceptive cues, and that's the seat of the pants, and that is the machine talking to you.
Right.
You don't get that.
Right.
You don't get the G-force. You just don't feel that.
Right.
Absolutely. Hey, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly social media edition. The good.
I'm gonna say the good is, man, obviously you're able to, talk to anybody or comment on anybody's thing that you want. You can be in contact, feel like you're in person-to-person contact with idols of yours or athletes or rock stars or movie stars or whatever. You're able to keep in touch with them, kind of see what they do throughout the day. That's got to be the goods of it. I mean, you're close. You feel like you're close.
So the bad is, when the contestants, when they kind of like say, hey, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to stand off. The examples that I have written for me here, Tiger Woods and Marshawn Lynch, people that just don't want to participate in it. The ugly of social media, well, ask Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
Kyle learned a hard lesson.
Yeah.
When you are a NASCAR driver and you are, you have sponsors and you are a public persona, you are always on the job.
Yeah.
You are on the job when you get out of your bed to go pee at 3 o'clock in the morning. You are always on the job, and you need to always assume that someone is looking at you and listening to you.
Yeah.
I flew medevac helicopters for 17 years, and some of the best advice I got was when I got hired, my chief pilot said, dude, somebody is always recording everything you do with that helicopter. Keep that in your mind. Don't ever do anything with that helicopter that you don't want to see on the nightly news. And that's the ugly. Bubba Wallace. Bubba, he did. By the way, it wasn't rage. Whoever said he was not raging. Bubba Wallace got angry. He got crashed. He was mad. He goes, hey, that's it. I quit. That ain't what rage is. I've seen rage, and rage was not what Bubba Wallace did. But he did quit, and he did disappoint his sponsor. And even though some people think that iRacing is nothing but a game, it is what we have, and it is the driver's chance to showcase the sponsor's products, right?
That's let's say a iRacing hour and a half long commercial for
and
a sponsor.
Got Blue Emu sitting right there.
You're not talking on Bubba Wallace's behalf. You're on Blue Emu's behalf.
As a matter of fact, right now we're not.
Key, so.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good, man.
Right now we're not talking on our behalf. We're talking on
Coach's Corner's
behalf,
Yeah,
and we want you to like this, like Coach's Corner. We want you to share the video, and we want you to take part in what John Henderson and Adele Henderson are trying to do for this community, which is give people the opportunity to have, great food that you don't have to cook, and you can get it right here. Speaking of food, let's get our lovely assistant. You can set that right there if you would. So this is. Thank you very much. This is an example of the John Henderson Coach's Corner brisket.
That's it.
And I believe actually Dan Foulds is the guy that seasoned that brisket. I was taught by Mike Bullock of Bullock's Barbecue, and I want to tell you that there is a secret mix of 9 spices on there, and he said, Dan, don't be afraid of that. That's a big piece of meat. You can put a lot of stuff on there. So we did. And the comments that people are making are that this brisket is spectacular, and you can get, now look at that, guys. That's a big chunk of meat. You can get that right here at Coach's Corner. We've got chickens, we've got, like I said, brisket, we've got butts. Occasionally we have spiral cut ham that are glazed. All of that stuff is available right here at Coach's Corner. Yes. Checkered flag for charity. There's no race this week, but this is our 11th show. And by the way, there's another $11 going into the Ronald McDonald House charity bucket.
Yep.
We're still on track, friends, to raise over $1,500. I encourage you to donate online, mention our show, and help us with this great charity. There is going to be kids at Memorial Hospital. There's going to be kids at Memorial Hospital who are in that hospital for the coronavirus.
Yep.
And their mom and dad is going to be, and their mom and dad ain't going to have a whole bunch of bank because people ain't able to work right now. And their folks are going to be staying over at the Ronald McDonald House. And so big thanks to them and everybody else, by the way, in the healthcare system.
Yeah, definitely good supporting local charities, man. That's what it's all about.
That's a big piece of meat.
That is a big piece of meat.
It is.
Yeah, one of my personal friends, a flight nurse that I have come to know in my 17 years flying medevac, he sent me a picture today for his 40th birthday. He's in a hospital in New York City. He's all masked up, gowned up, goggled up. Josh Henke is his name, and I think the world of him, and I hope the best for him.
Yeah,
Cheers
great.
segment. Denny Hamlin joined in the All-In Challenge, hashtag All-In Challenge. Athletes are raising $100 million for COVID-19 relief. They're auctioning off a package that includes playing golf with Hamlin and Watson, a private flight on somebody's jet, VIP tickets to the 2021 Daytona 500. Charities supported include Meals on Wheels, No Hungry Kid, Feeding America, America's Food Fund, and World Central Kitchen. Way to go, Denny.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to Denny.
Cheers, buddy. As a matter of fact, I think it's time for, it's very easy to lose track of your nutritional intake during these tough times, and it's good to always make sure you get plenty of vitamin C. As it turns out at Coaches, they have vitamin C supplements, and we're going to enjoy one of those right now. This is a great vitamin C supplement. Healthy.
Too bad.
Healthy never tasted so good. Okay. More thanks to Fans and Coaches Corner. This is the center
Of the universe.
Yes, it is. Hey, guys, hit like and share. We'll see you next week. Stay safe.
Yep.
Wash your hands. I'm Dan Folds.
I'm Brandon Bang.
This is Rubbin' and Grubbin'. We love you. Good night.